In the previous video, we already drove the Opel Grandland that we have with us today. But that previous video was on the press event, the first drive event of the car. And those events are always slightly hectic and there's not that much time to fully get to know the car. So I personally find it important to drive this car in real life as well, to see what it is to live with such a vehicle when you throw some luggage, some family and some traffic jams at it. So that's what we're going to do in this video. My name is Peter and the Opel Grandland, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the nicest cars from the Opel lineup. I think this is a very good looking car and also a car that suits me as a family man really well. Starting here on the front, the first question I want to ask you guys, let me know in the comments, this copper color, yay or nay? I think it's pretty cool. It's a bit of a light copper, almost a like rose gold kind of color. I think it's a love or hate color. You either like this or not. Personally, I think it's pretty okay, but I would prefer a slightly darker version as far as I'm concerned. Like a full black version looks a bit more chic, I think. I think the design itself is really cool. The illuminated logo is very important, of course. That is one of the new things car manufacturers do. On the one hand, it is complete nonsense, obviously, because nobody needs an illuminated logo. But I have to say, it does grow on you. Every time you walk to the car in the parking garage and you click it on and it lights up, it is kind of nice, I have to admit. It's the same on the back, where the Opel letters are spelled out in red between the brake lights, sort of like daytime running lights on the back. It is kind of nice, I have to say. I quite like it. So let me know in the comments too if you guys like this or think this is nonsense. What isn't nonsense is the design. I think this whole visor on the front is pretty cool. You can see that the daytime running lights run almost along the full width of the car. And we have the matrix LED headlights here from Opel that give like awesome amount of light at night. Really, really nice. And I think this whole design of the front gives it not an aggressive stance, but it gives it a slightly muscular stance that this car deserves with 1.90 m wide. Underneath, this is the GS version, by the way, so we have a black upper part of the car and also this part is nice and dark. I think overall it is a design that looks modern and fresh without overly over the top wanting to try too hard. So I think that is well judged from Opel. Walking down the car, you can really see that black top from the GS line. If you get the standard car, the edition, then this is the same as the body color. So then this will continue in copper in this case. 19-inch wheels, looks nice. The car itself is only 4.65 m long. And I say only because that is a size that is still very manageable without compromising on the space inside, as we'll see later. Me as a family man, I like cars with a lot of volume inside, but I don't want to drive like a full-size, giant, almost van-like car like the Neo EL8 we drove in a previous video. That car was over 5.10 m long, which is 50 centimeters, half a meter longer than this car. That's much. So that's a lot of extra space, and inevitably with those kind of sizes you run into issues with parking and narrow streets and so on. This is a size that is basically the best of both worlds. You have the space on the inside without compromising on the enormity on the outside. So I think that is well judged from Opel as well, and overall I think the design works. It's an angular design, it's recognizable Opel, and it makes it not too big, not too small, and still very stylish in this package, I think. If we go all the way to the back, we have the charging port right here, because this is the electric version. There's 3 engine types available: normal hybrid, plug-in hybrid, and electric. This electric one comes in 2 flavors, 73 kWh battery and 82 kWh battery that we have here. Both have the same powertrain with 213 horsepower, and both do the same kind of charging, so 11 kilowatts at home and 160 fast charging, which is not the latest word in fast charging. All the Chinese and Korean manufacturers do it faster, but it's fast enough. So it gives you a bit of an idea on what you're talking about when it comes to charging times. All the way in the back, nice clean design with that Opel written here, like I said before. I kind of like it. I think the logo in the front is nicer, but I think this is quite nice as well. And it's also 3D letters, so it's well done. It's done in a way that is not obnoxious or anything, but looks nice. The back itself is nice and clean. I think this is a nice chunky design, but still very stylish, with a wiper. All that nonsense with heated rear windows or angles or slopes or spoilers or nothing doesn't work in the real world. Rear windows get dirty, they get wet, and you want to be able to clean them from the inside, and a wiper is the way to go. Pay attention, manufacturers. We got a little spoiler over here. And of course we have an electric boot. Let me see what the lid is. Opening that up, we have 550 liters of luggage space. I left the charging cable in there for scale. 550 is fine. It's very usable. Me and my family of 4 fit our holiday and everything in here, no issues whatsoever. It's not the biggest in the world, but 550 is very nice. And obviously you can put the rear seats down as well for even more space. Then you can slide the refrigerator in here because the opening is nice and square. The load lip is also non-existent if you leave the false floor in, and nice and high, like it is almost, it's between my hips and my knees, so that's nice. And if you take the false floor out, there is even more space underneath for your charging cables if you want to. In this case we have a tow eye and some extra emergency stuff. All around very usable, nothing too crazy, nothing class leading, but very usable and basically everything that you want from a boot. Before we continue with the video, we started a Patreon account for Autogefühl and also Autogevoel, the Dutch channel that I also do. Video production is expensive, there's no way around it, and we want to keep making cool and interesting videos for you guys. So if you want to support us, that is the place to do it. Don't worry, we're going to continue our videos here on YouTube as well, but the people who do support us on Patreon get some early access to the cars that we drive and some exclusive videos as well. So if you want to support us, that's the place to go. Obviously a little tour through the cockpit of this Opel Grandland, and there is a lot of good news. Despite the platform that's shared within the Stellantis group, Opel gives its own schwung to the cockpit. And I say schwung on purpose because Opel, when you talk to the people that built this car and the designers and the ideas behind it, they're really proud to be the German brand of the Stellantis group. And they think about that and they take that German heritage serious. So they want a cockpit, in this case, that is simple, that's elegant, and that's functional. And I think they've nailed it. I mean, there's a few things here and there that I'm not too sure about, as we'll see. But overall, the design of the cockpit is calm, it's angular, it's no nonsense, it's businesslike. And I think it is a nice combination of good materials, form following function, and just things that make a lot of sense. So that's good. Let's do our usual tour, starting here on the left with the materials of the door. Everything you touch, everything you interact with is soft and comfortable material. So the elbow support here in the middle, the seats of course, but also the door top, even beside the steering wheel here. It's all very pleasant to touch, so that's a good start. And as I like to see it, normal buttons for the windows and a normal joystick for the mirror control. Excellent. That's the way you want it. Doesn't cost anything and everybody understands how this works. Great. Big door pockets too, not lined with anything, so just hard pack plastic, but you know, big enough to fit 2 bottles in this case with ease. And there's also some structure in it to make sure that things don't fall over. So that is quite okay. Then in front of me, the steering wheel, almost round, but with a flat bottom, but still okay to sort of go through my hands on roundabouts and so on. So that's okay. Now the steering wheel has no capacitive nonsense going on. It has 2 button clusters that are 1 piece of plastic each. So the buttons are not separated individually, but they're just 1 plastic field that you press. But it is a real button, so you really press into it, and the sensor behind it senses which part of the button you're pressing. Bit cumbersome solution maybe, but it does work. On the left side you have your cruise control and so on, and on the right side you have your media and your systems. So that's great, and that's paired with the driver's display through the steering wheel and the head-up display above that. Behind the steering wheel we also have 2 flippers for your rejam braking, so you can set that to the desired levels and even adjust it as you are driving. Personally, I'm not one to constantly flipper between modes. I prefer to just leave it in the minimal setting where you just roll when you go off the throttle. But at the same time, I concede that in city driving, sometimes it's nice to have that extra bit of braking without having to physically press the pedal. So if you're into that, you know who you are, and that's for you to play with. For me, most of the time I just leave it in the least violent setting. I also have 2 stalks, traditional for my lights on the left and for my wiper settings on the right, so nothing going wrong there either. And then, like I said, the driver's display and the head-up display. The driver's display is about letterbox size, so very much your basic information, and even further basic is your head-up display with your speed, your cruise control settings, and so on. You operate that up there. It's a nice display. I really think that head-up displays add some value to the equation, especially when you team it up with a good driver's display. When you have that set just right and have all your information that you want on the head-up display, and then anything more, it's sort of glanceable on the driver's display. I think that's a good combination. That's how I like to use those. Obviously, after those two displays, we got to look at the center display. Nice and broad, very Opel software touches here as well. So the same thing as with the overall cockpit design. They say, no, we make the target points bigger. We want it to be easy to use and so on. And it is. It is a relatively simple system to use with some tiles. Not always the most logical thing with these separate squares where you can have separate things. But once you've set it up to your preference, it's okay to work with. It's nice and clear, so that's good. It's not the fastest system I've ever seen. So things do take a bit of time sometimes. Luckily, you have 3 quick buttons here for your driver aids, for your home, and for your ventilation menu. So you can go to those things right away with that shortcut, so that's nice. And that means that you spend less time fiddling through menus before you get where you need to be. So that's good. And the same goes for the excellent Klima unit underneath, where you have physical buttons to adjust things. This is so much nicer than anything touchy swipey or anything in the screen. This is how you want it, especially these 3, temperature up and down and fan speed. That is what you want. Those are the things you touch most of the time. And when you're driving especially, it's so much easier to just tap this and change the temperature or the fan speed. Great. Next to that, we have some capacitive buttons for the most used functions. So your front and rear window heating, your air conditioning inside and outside the car, so on. So that's great too. Not a fan of capacitive buttons in general, but it's fine that those are capacitive, I suppose. And we have a physical volume knob as well. Interesting is that it's obviously for the passenger to use, because I will use the ones on the steering wheel, but it's still on the left side of the car. So it would make more sense if this was on the right. More physical good news underneath, because we have a physical vent control here for airflow direction, but the lever thingy that you touch is very short, so it's a few millimeters too short, so sometimes it's a bit hard to grab, especially when it's in a fully down position. It's the same system for the vents in the door, but here the vent next to the screen has 2 sort of scroll wheels for direction and up and down. So I'm not really sure why they've done it that way and why it's different than all the other ones, but okay. Then the big storage bin here in the front. So that is easy to open with USBs and wireless charging in there for some storage and for your phone. So that's great. Also wired connection to the system if you want to. There's a little visor in front of it, which is, I'll turn my phone on maximum brightness so you can see. If you put that on the wireless charging pad, you can still see your phone through the visor screen here. I'm not really sure why, because if your phone's connected to the screen, the central screen, you can see all your information or if somebody's calling on there. And what am I looking at right now? I'm not really sure why you want it this way. It's not a solution to a problem that I would have. On top of that, if you then want to do something with your phone, which obviously you shouldn't while you're driving, but let's say, then you have to open this first and then sort of fish your phone out here. It doesn't make much sense, especially not because in between the visor and the rest of the middle console, there's a ridge that you can actually put your phone in like this. So, you know, if you want to use your phone while driving for maybe Flitsmeister or Waze or some other navigation than you have on the screen, you can put it over there. The only downside is that when you go around the corner, your phone will fly out completely. And the same goes when you put your phone up here, it will fly through the car as well. As a final solution, you could even just put it up like this, then you have an even better view, but then clearly it's going to fly around as well. So that's for the phone. Then very standard Stellantis middle tunnel with your drive selector, your drive mode selector, your parking brake, 2 cup holders that you can also adjust a little bit, and that is all there is to it. You can see I have my key and my garage clicker here in the cup holder at the moment. That is probably where you'll put them most of the time, and that is also a problem with this little visor because it's not the hardest plastic in the world, and I think that over time this will be one giant scratch surface that is going to look terrible. It also attracts quite a bit of fingerprints, and then, yeah, if you're going to throw your keys around the car a little bit, you're inevitably going to scratch this as well. So I don't think this is a very good solution. Then we have the elbow rest that opens up like so, pretty deep. I got my sunglasses in here. There's also a sunglass cover storage bin up here, actually. But I have it here right now. So that's nice and deep, and it's cooled as well, so you can keep your drink semi-cool. And underneath all this, there is another storage bin about this high, so a bit cumbersome to get into, because you get to that sort of like your wrist doesn't bend the correct way to put something in. But you can, I got my camera bag in there at the moment, so that's the kind of things you can store down there, sort of out of the way, out of sight, but not really that easily accessible. All around, the cockpit is quite nice. I think Opel has really achieved that sort of German look, the functional, business-like cockpit. I quite like it. Obviously, colors and materials will vary depending on the version of the car that you pick. But overall, it's a nice place to be. The seats deserve a special praise because they are certified by the German Back Care Institute, and they are really good. I'm really comfortable. I fit in the seat even with my broad shoulders. I have good view out. I can find a nice position, even though that the seats are manually operated in this version. And it's a nice place to sit and do long distancing. It's really pleasant. So these seats alone are worth considering Opel as a brand for. I also like that I have a nice view over the hood, especially with that ridge in the middle, that sort of almost fin-like ridge. It's quite nice. It's a good place to be, and it's a nice driving position all around with good view, good glass around me. Really well done. Speaking of glass, you can see the panoramic roof above me. It is a two-part roof, so the front bit is only this long and will slide open, and the rear bit is fixed, and it also has a cover over the full length of the roof. So that's great as well, because on sunny days you don't want to sit here baking. This particular interior is light grayish, so it doesn't get claustrophobic per se when you close it, but it's always nice to have that extra light option. Now obviously we got to do a little bit of driving in this Opel Grandland, a bit more than we already did in that first impression on the press drive, but living with this car for a week gives you a very different feeling on how it is to own this car. Because in everyday life, I have some kids in the back, I got some luggage in here, I'm parking in parking spots with a tree halfway on. So, it's a very different way of interacting with the car. And I have to say that in general, this car deals with real life really well. I mentioned it before, it's a size that is very convenient with the space you get on the inside and not cumbersome with the dimensions on the outside. Earlier this week I was charging somewhere, and it was clearly one of those charging stations that was installed long after the parking lot was built. So it was a bit of a funny angle, and you had to be quite far to the edge of the parking square to be able to plug the cable in properly. And it was no problem because the car is only 4.65 meters long, so it didn't stick out, it didn't block the road or anything, and I was still able to just get it done. And that's nice, and the size is really well judged, that it's still very usable in day-to-day life. There haven't been any kind of situations this week where I was like, oh, this is not going to fit, or this car is too big for what I'm doing. So that's quite nice, especially considering the space here on the inside. My boys are 8 and 11, they fit in the back no problem whatsoever, and will be able to fit for the years to come. So if you get this car on a 5-year lease, for example, because that's how far I have to think ahead, then my oldest will be 16 and probably 3 meters tall. Well, that's not going to fit anymore, but up until then it should be all fine. So that's nice that you get this interior space without the penalty on the outside. Sitting here driving on the highway currently, it's a very nice travel car to be in. We're doing 117 now, and it's not noisy in here. It's very pleasant, it's smooth. The seating position is excellent with these great seats. So it's an all-around very nice place to be. I feel comfortable here. I have great view out over this broad hood with that angle in the middle, that ridge in the middle. It's really nice. It feels really comfortable in here. And then when you start to look slightly further down in the car, with the instruments and the screens giving you all the correct information when you want it, in a very pleasant and organized way. It's not a very busy dashboard. It's just, gives you everything that you want once you have it set up just so. So yeah, all around, it's a very pleasant place to be, and it's a very good travel car as far as that goes. So the Opel Grandland comes in several different flavors and several different powertrains. On the bottom of the line we have the 1.2 turbo hybrid, so it's a regular hybrid system. starting at 43,000 euros here in the Netherlands for the Edition, and the GS, so that's the luxury version, starts at 46,500 euro. Then we have the plug-in hybrid, meaning you get a 1.6 turbo engine with electric power, and that is 195 horsepower for 44,999 euro for the Edition and 48,500 euro for the GS. Then the electric one, the one that we're in, two battery flavors, 73 and 82 kilowatt hours. The 73 kilowatt hours comes in the Edition for 45,999 and the GS for 49.5. The big battery, the 82 kilowatt hour battery, also 213 horsepower, only GS version available for 50,500 euro. So there's a lot to choose depending on your powertrain needs, and then obviously you got to pick a nice color and you got to pick your Edition or standard version. Personally, I would always go for the Edition because you just get so many more toys and so many more nice things that you really want on the car, let's be honest. And if for my money, if you're going for the electric one, I would always go for this big battery one, because the price difference over the small battery is only 1,000 euro extra for the GS line, and then you have everything that Opel has basically in terms of electric driving. So that is the one that I would pick if I would want to go full electric. With this electric powertrain, we have a little over 200 horsepower, which is, let's be honest, not a lot in a car that weighs more than 2,100 kilos dry without anything in it. So once you start adding passengers and luggage and a few other things, it gets heavy in a hurry. So we're doing 99 now. If I floor it, 110, 20, 30. So by no means this is going to be a race monster or some kind of Autobahn Stormer in Germany. It's fine for normal traffic, for getting on and off the highway, normal overtaking, no issues whatsoever, but nothing more than that. So, you know, you have to take this powertrain into the context that it belongs. The normal hybrid has just under 150 horsepower. I think that is not a lot for a car this size and weight. Obviously the car is going to be a little bit lighter because it won't have a battery pack, but well, I don't think that is going to give you a lot of options in traffic, so to speak. And that's actually nice with this powertrain, that it's enough to give you sort of nothing to really think about. You can just do your overtakes and on and off the highway and everything without really having to plan ahead or look ahead too far. And in city traffic, it's also very, it's very zippy as electric powertrains go. It's easy to get off the line. You're not going to win any sprints here or anything, but it's just nice to have that responsive drive in and around town. So it's a powertrain that's very suitable for this car, and I also think it fits my lifestyle really well. I've said in earlier videos as well that I drive about 100 to 150 kilometers a week in and around my house. So that's taking kids to sports, groceries, appointments in and around town and so on. And it's just nice to have that electric drivability, no silent, no exhausts, full tank every morning when you leave your house. It's just nice, and it's also just pleasant to drive that way. Because if I remember, my previous car was a big Skoda Superb diesel, which was a fantastic car, don't get me wrong. But yeah, every time you drive it for 8 kilometers or 10 kilometers or 12 kilometers, you're like, engine isn't even warm yet, it doesn't really like to do this kind of stuff. And that's the benefit of this electric powertrain, is that it's just easy and it's also pleasant to drive those shorter distances. Now obviously this Opel Grandland is a family car, and that means there has to be a lot of space back here, and that is definitely the case. I am 183 and about 90 kilos, and I can sit behind myself relatively comfortable. I have about this much space left until I hit the seat, and even if I would, the back of the seats is quite concave and soft, so even if that's the case with a very tall driver, for example, no issues for a short journey. But sitting like this, also no issues for any kind of longer journey. Plenty of space for my feet under the seat and plenty of space to move my feet and legs around. What's not so good is the headroom. With 183, I am basically touching the roof. And as you can see, I'm exactly in the apex of where the panoramic roof meets the rest of the car. I'm not really sure why they designed it that way, because it's easy to see that this is where the head of the passenger will be. And that's right in the corner of that panoramic roof. So either make the panoramic roof slightly smaller or slightly bigger so you have more space, because there is another, well, 4, 5, 6 centimeters of space here until you actually hit the glass. So not really sure what went wrong there, but it probably has something to do with the structural design of the car. But that could have been done a bit better. Back here, there is not as much luxury as in the front. So for example, the door gets hard plastic instead of the soft touch material in the front, but overall it is quite nice. We have some pockets here on top of the seats, some seat pockets underneath, some basic air conditioning control in terms of airflow direction, some USBs and a 12-volt socket down there. So that's all excellent. We even have an armrest here in the middle. That is not so excellent because there's a permanent hard plastic set of cup holders and a slit for your phone. Not really necessary. Why doesn't this just come out of the front? You know, make it easier, make it cleaner, and make it not sitting with your wrist in the cup holders at all times. So yeah, not the nicest solution here for an armrest, but nice that there is an armrest, I suppose. No ski hatch, by the way, so no through loading here. You have to put the seats down for that. Other than that, it's a fine place to be. The seats and the materials and such are nice and comfortable. There's a broad middle seat as well, so you can really sit there properly. Not 3 times myself, but 2 adults and a kid, or 3 kids, 3 abreast, no issues. And thanks to the panoramic roof, there's also plenty of light back here. The materials are lightish grayish, so that's fine. It's not like you're feeling claustrophobic, also because the side windows are quite large here in the back. But it's always nice to have that extra light here, so that's good. I think overall this is a fine place to transport people, also to sit for a longer journey. The contact with the front is easy to make because the car is not that long. And the headrests are quite big though, so you have to look around those a little bit, but there's plenty of information coming to the front, also from the central screen that's so nice and big in the center of the car. So you have a good sense of what's happening around you, so that's good. The only thing is that you don't want to have teenagers taller than 1.83 meters because they'll be touching the roof. There's really not much not to like about this car. There's a few things to nitpick, like this visor down here that I showed you in the interior tour. I don't think that's a feature at all, and I would have preferred it was just the fabric that's up here. And I also don't think it's going to wear very well over time. So as far as I'm concerned, that can go. This middle tunnel is also very plasticky, not very nice. It feels a bit unpleasant to touch in general, some sharp edges. So they could have done a slightly more premium job there too. And the mirrors, I don't like the mirrors. They're quite small for the size of the car, or at least they feel small. I didn't measure them or anything. And they're sort of angled slightly downwards, so it looks a bit sad. Yeah, it's not like they work any less because of it, but yeah, design-wise, it doesn't look so nice. But that's, yeah, like I said, nitpicking. Everything else is ergonomic, it's functional. The buttons for the Klima unit are fantastic, awesome. Everybody just copy it this way. It's just so much nicer. And it's an all-around nice car to be and a nice car to travel in. And it really makes you think, like with the range, I have 54% battery left and I have 214 kilometers of projected range. Now we're doing 109 kilometers an hour here. So as long as you keep the speed under control and keep things sort of normal, this is just a car that's pleasant to drive without thinking too much, with plenty of range for most of the driving that you'll do. Because let's be honest, 90% of the driving that you do is that in and around your house, everyday school run, commute to work kind of drive. So yeah, all those drives are just so nice in this electric powertrain configuration. And then yeah, the few times a year that you might drive far, which is always a lot less than you think it is, you know, you have enough range to make it far. And with 160 kilowatts charging, it's not the fastest thing in the world, but it's overseeable, and then you can just be on your way again. So yeah, it's all around a very complete package, I think. After living with this Opel Grandland Electric for a week, my initial impressions from that first drive, press drive, remain. This is a very solid offering from Opel. I think they've used the familiar platform from Stellantis really well and gave it the Opel treatment in terms of style and practicality and functionality inside as well. I really like that Opel approach. I would pick this one over its other sisters from Peugeot, for example. And I really think that this is a car, maybe with a few flaws here and there, but overall a very strong package in a very stylish body shell. Opel's doing a great job keeping that own German identity, and I think that is something to be celebrated, and I think that is something strong from Stellantis in general, that you have this to pick versus the Peugeot lineup, for example, but also that you have a lot to pick within this brand and within this model, specifically with the hybrid, the plug-in hybrid and this electric version. All around, I think it's a solid offering, and I think if you are into that Opel DNA, that this is a almost no-brainer to pick if you have a family like me and if you want the space on the inside without compromising on the enormity on the outside. That's all I got for you in this video. Thanks for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to support us. Every subscriber is welcome, of course. And like I said earlier in the video, if you want to support us on Patreon, the links are down below in the description. For now, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Cheers!